Hi guys, so today we're on site at one of our customers' properties, actually one of our YouTube subscribers' properties. We're finishing the first fix here where we've done some home networking. As you can see here, we're linking up the property from router to loft and from loft space down into the office and bedrooms to supply Ethernet cables there. We've also installed a mesh network system, and that's really what I was going to talk to you about today. So we're installing a garage camera using a TP-Link AC Wi-Fi device, basically setting client mode to enable the wired camera to speak via Wi-Fi to the home network. But we've upgraded the home network using TP-Link mesh devices to give a whole home Wi-Fi. So biggest problem that most people face is that their home Wi-Fi seems to be poor, or they keep saying that their internet is poor, and it's actually the connectivity within their house that's the problem. 99% of the time when people complain about their internet issue, it isn't the line coming into the property, it's from the line out to your end devices, and that's where most problems happen. So what we're showing here is a lot of lofts that we go to and we see where people have had CCTV either installed by themselves or even had professional installers do it. They've installed a power device to bridge the network connection from the NVR itself via plug socket using a power line adapter, and then another power line adapter at the other end by the router. But obviously in a lot of cases, this means that the actual transmission of the data has happened over the power network in your house, which has usually run through the fuse boards, run over RCDs, RCBOs, etc. And you can have numerous problems with these. They're from always dropping packets, and drop packets in videos will always leave you with issues. So it's always a case of making sure that you've got the best connection for your NVR, because obviously with data upload speeds being limited, you need the best connection between this NVR and your router in order to give you the best experience from a mobile device when you're trying to view your cameras from outside. So this is what we're doing. I'll show you a bit more detail of elsewhere in the property where we've installed the mesh points already. So one of the things you notice is we've got this currently Ethernet connected from the NVR, goes into this switch. This switch, we have an uplink to a TP mesh unit on the top floor. We've then got connection to the office for both the PC and the printers that are in the office. And then we've run a spare that's currently for a bedroom TV that isn't installed yet. We're going to have a couple more ports in here going down. We're also going to have the final uplink port will be the uplink down to the router. In this property, we're 3 stories up, so we need to go 3 stories down inside the wall in order to get down to the router, and then we're going to connect via gigabit Ethernet connection back into this switch, and then all of the other TP-Link mesh devices will be fed via this Ethernet switch from here. So you'll have 3 effectively access points in the property, and they'll also have their own mesh link backup. In an event that you cannot get a cable to your router, this is what I'm going to tell you about using the TP-Link mesh system and other mesh systems do work in the same way, that you'll be able to connect your NVR via, as this is currently, via the TP-Link mesh device that is on the top floor, and it's achieving an 800 megasecond or 800 megabit per second data transfer rate between itself and the mesh point downstairs, which is connected directly to the router. So this would be more than sufficient to run just the NVR. The only reason we're doing more than this is because the customer wants to be future-proof for further network improvements, multiple users, additional computers and additional devices in the rest of the property. So now I'm going to take you and show you one of the units. So guys, this is a TP-Link AC 750 Wi-Fi travel router. This is the device that we're going to link the garage camera back to the main house and connect it onto the NVR. So I'm just going to show you what this looks like. And this is the device itself. Nice compact little device. It's got power, it can be powered via USB plug. It's got 3G USB adapter if you need to use it as a to plug in and share like a Wi-Fi dongle. Which bits on there, and the Ethernet plug for plugging into the actual device that you want to. So if you want to convert an Ethernet device over to a Wi-Fi device. So what we're going to do, check that the setting switch first. We're going to change this to AP ring extension client, as that's the one that we're going to need, and then we're going to keep this on. I'm going to plug this in for a second and set it up here next to the NVR, and then we're going to get ready to go and fit it along with the camera in the garage. So what we've done now is we've now connected the AC750 to the wireless network as a client. So the reason you've now lost the ability to log into the device now is because it's no longer acting as an access point. So we don't have a connection from our phone now to the device anymore. And basically what we now got is that this device is connected to the Wi-Fi itself. We've specified this one to connect to the 2.4G longer range of the downstairs mesh unit. So this is going to give it the best connection when it is downstairs, as currently we are 3 floors up. What we didn't want to do is pair it to the first mesh upstairs, because obviously that's our closest one to us. We want it on the furthest one away, because it's going to be in a different location. But now what this device will do is, as soon as we plug a Wi-Fi device into, an Ethernet device into the Ethernet port, is that Ethernet device will then get its IP address via this unit into the network, and it will basically respond standard DHCP address off what comes off of the router. And in this case, the downstairs mesh unit is now the DHCP for the network. So this is how you see that's going to be configured. You're going to see very shortly when I go and plug this down in the garage how exactly we're going to wire this up into the camera, and we're going to have a PoE injector to power the camera. Right then guys, so first things first, measured up the centre of the garage opening for this one, drilled a hole, so we've got our entry hole in and over into the garage soffits. We're going to run a piece of cable, connect the camera up, bring it back down to where we're going to put the power supply and the AC unit. So we'll very quickly put that one in, just to show. We're using a CK Tools Spiroflex fish tool. Basically we are going to run this Spiroflex straight through. The easiest way to do it, because it's a great pull cord, it doesn't really stick to anything, goes straight through the hole, comes out the other side, attach our cable to it, and then we can just pull the thing straight through. Really simple, even one-handed, pull it through, get our cable coming up. And now we're feeding it from the box on the floor. There you go, and the cable's now straight out. I just thought, for anyone who's doing this as a DIY, you're not a professional installer, one thing I always recommend is, if you're ever going to run a cable through on a fish hole at all, once you disconnect your either fish line or pulling rods or anything like that you're using, tie a loop in the end of your cable, for the very reason that if, for instance, the cable gets pulled back, it doesn't accidentally go straight back through the hole that you've just done. So something that probably time served, you probably have learned over the time, but if you're doing this for the first time, always handy to remember, once you pull it through, tie the loop in it, then take your tool off, just in case. So guys, just showing you a couple of things. This is when you fit a Hikvision network camera. You're going to find that your devices, the device has the balance that come through from the camera. You'll have your Ethernet port, and you'll have a power supply input as well. If you're powering the device via PoE, you will not need this power supply input. This is purely if you have a separate power supply, or for instance you may be running over a long distance, and then therefore you may need local power, etc. So the important thing I'm going to show you is this connection here. This comes in the separate packet of these little items over here. These are your weatherproofing. One thing that seems to happen quite a lot is that the little rubber ring doesn't come fitted onto this device here, and people seem to fit it around the back end of this weatherproofing. And I'm just going to show you how that these go together and what you need to do. So first things first, you need to push the rubber ring over the edge of your connector. That is then going to prove to be your waterproofing for the actual connection once all of this is screwed on to the actual cable itself. Then what you're going to need to do is you're going to take these items in this order. Yeah. So this is going to go over the base of the body of the cable first, then this, and then this on the end. This then will then push into this, and this will all screw together around the cable, and it will make more sense in 1 second. On Hikvision devices, they have now changed these, so the openings are wider, and you can actually fit these onto a pre-terminated cable, which you used to not be able to do. However, not all manufacturers do this. So when you get these, make sure that you always, it's good practice to put them on in the correct way, and then that way you won't have the problem should your manufacturer, say, not have the ability to put in a completed cable. So guys, what you can now see is that this is actually on the cable itself. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this piece of rubber into that, and then this final cap goes on over the top, and then we're going to screw this together around a cable. Whilst doing that, I've also made sure to move my loop up so it doesn't fall back through the hole whilst I'm doing it, just in case I let go and the cable gets retracted back, as we don't want to be redoing any of the cable work. Now we'll screw these together. This gives you great weatherproofing around the actual cable itself. We've not completely tightened this. This is ready to go completely tight, but we're obviously going to need to fit the connection and then pull it all together when we actually fit it on the camera. So just sort of pretty much do it so it's tight, but you can still move it around. And then obviously we'll then get the cable terminated and then put into the camera itself. Now, if you haven't terminated Cat 5 cable before and this is your first attempt going straight in on your CCTV system, I recommend you get yourself a cable stripping tool that looks something like this. This particular one's a Nipex one. It's available on Amazon, but they're very, very much the same. But they make sure you get the right adjustments. This little wheel here adjusts the stripping in order to strip the cable nice and easily. And then obviously you can cut, chomp, do anything you need to any of the cables. It also does coaxial cables for analog cameras as well. If you're doing any other types, or Sky TV, satellite cable, etc., you've got all the options on one tool. Can't leave home without this. It comes in handy, just saves so much time when you're trying to split cables up in the right way. So unfortunately don't have my tripod with me today, so sort of bush fixing this as we go. What we're going to do is make sure our cable protection's on and easily pullable to move about. I'm going to take our cable, put it in our stripping tool, pull that straight off the end and make sure we've got enough slack out there. Handy to have your cutters with you as well, because depending on the cable, Cat 5 will have this strand of thread in it, Cat 6 will have a plastic divider that you need to chop as well. Top tip from me, spread your cables out into their pairs like that so you can get hold of them, and then use the plastic offcut that you just used to separate the pair rather than using your fingers. You can see my hands get battered from this stuff all day, but if you use the plastic twisty, that comes straight out and separates your pairs off already. Alright, so get these done. So once you've got your cable separated and you've got your colours, orange and white orange, green and white blue, blue and white green, brown and white brown, what I find is if you press them over your finger and roll them back, something my dad taught me, you roll them back over your finger, that then gets them to the right length, but it also separates them nice and straight. And then what I do, dependent on what tools you have and crimps, etc., that you're going to use, I'll use, generally speaking, feed through crimps with my Klein Tools quick crimper. I'm going to show you that now. So I'd show you a few things. One's had a little bit of wear on it, but this is my Klein Tools through crimper. Handy for beginners if you don't know your wiring, but you've got your colours on there: orange and white orange, green and white blue, blue and white green, brown and white brown for RJ45 type B connections. That's how we're going to do it. Going to open that up, going to take our cable end, and now that we've got our separate colours, I cut them off at an angle because I think it makes them slide in easier. But then orange and white orange, make sure we've got our cable connection in there, so it's very easy to lose one colour and move it in the wrong side. So orange and white orange, green and white blue, blue and white green, brown and white brown. Give a little flex, take your pins, and these are pins up when you're connecting them. Slide them in, and if you keep your finger on it, you'll keep them into separate connection points. And then when they go through the end, if you're using feed throughs, very easy to check that you're there. So orange and white orange, green and white blue, blue and white green, brown and white brown. It's very easy to make a mistake. So if you've got feed throughs, they're a lot easier to use, they're a lot quicker to get the job done. And then you just push them in the end of your Klein Tools, give it a good crimp shut, and then clean your edges off. That's your RJ45 connection ready for your camera straight away. Now we're going to show you to make sure that this connection's right. I'm going to pull this down,
Camera's here, going to line this up, get your base in, make sure your rubber seal's not rolling out, squeeze the seal, squeeze the whole thing tight, and you'll feel it all give way and then it will lock. Now that that's locked, that's weatherproof this side. Now it's just a case of tightening this up evenly to get your final seal. And now you'll see like that, it's perfectly closed, perfectly sealed, and the cable is tight and protected inside it. Job done. Well now, so guys, where this is still temporary, the final locations of the actual router and the PoE injector are waiting to be finalised. Probably need some more plug sockets put in this garage anyway for external lighting and things like that, which we're going to get around to doing. But obviously today was first fix and to get you this video shown. So what we've now done, this is a Ubiquiti power over Ethernet injector. This is gigabit capable, and this is so sort of full PoE power. So this will power any of your cameras, and the camera's already on, lights turned on already. But then what we're going to do is in the LAN port of this, we're going to connect the LAN port of this. So now the device is paired up, it's linked to the Wi-Fi, and the device is now connected via LAN. Then what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to use SADP on our laptop and now connect to the camera via SADP, give it its IP address, and get that set up. Simple as that. Right, so now that we've got this configured, this is now set up. Appreciate it's a bush fix together while we're waiting for the waiting for some shelves and stuff to go in there, some extra plug sockets for this to actually fit up and go somewhere permanent. So we've left some extra slack on the cable ready to finish up, but this is now connected, camera is now on, and if I take you over to SADP, you see that we now have an active camera, or sorry, an inactive camera sitting waiting to be activated. So I'll take you back over to the PC now and we'll carry on from there. Right, so hopefully you can all hear me well. So now we're back over on the PC. We've got this camera that we've set up on the garage now that now needs to be activated. This is now installed and set up, so I'm going to quickly fire in my default passwords for setting these up. We'll enable this device on Hit Connect as well, so we can remote manage it separately to the NVR and get that camera activated. Whilst this is doing that, we're then going to go back to our we're actually going to go back to our NVR and then add the NVR on there as channel 5, where we know we're going to set it up for the long haul. So email backup set up. It's for lost passwords, etc. Okay, confirmed. That's that done. Put it down. So now we can set the IP address or change the IP address. We've got a 64, but we don't know whether it's going to work. So let's just change this over to DHCP first and find ourselves an address, because what we don't want to do is trying to conflict then with a different device that's on the network. So modified. Let's refresh it. And then what we will do, there we go, so we're 130, which is handy because that's the 5th camera. So we'll roll up from there on our NVR, maybe drop our NVR to 124 and then go from there. So look, so now we've got that camera added, what we can do is we can open up the NVR itself. And I'm going to go over to there now. So 2.168.1.125. Oh, sorry, my mistake. Used to my own networks. 192.168.68.125. And quickly make sure we add this to our allowed sites as well. Do that now. And then once we're into the NVR, we go to camera configuration in the configuration menu, and we're going to go over to camera management, IP cameras, and then we're going to change IP channel 5. I'm going to modify that, and we're going to make this, rather than a plug and play, a manual setup camera, and we're then going to add the IP address that we've got from SADP to add the camera. using standard protocols and enable that camera. And then what will happen now, you see already it's gone security, camera's still currently offline. We'll just quickly clip out and then onto a new screen, and we'll see the camera is now online. And if we go into live view, you'll be able to see this camera running. Just got to where my Mac is. Let me just going to open this back up in Chrome with IE tab. This will allow me to view the live stream on my Mac. And now camera 5 is live. So I hope you found the video informative. That's definitely going to help you put a CCTV camera in a remote location, whether that be shed, garage, or just an outbuilding. So long as you've got range of a Wi-Fi network that you can then connect to and access, you can get the camera online to HitConnect. It is also possible to run the camera as a standalone device if you want to do that. So this is not Hikvision specific. Any IP camera can be connected to your network using a Wi-Fi client like the TP-Link AC750. It's just choice that I use that device. I find it really reliable, I find it's got great connection, and it works especially well if you're using a TP-Link mesh system. So I think pick your bits to put your system together. Make sure you have Wi-Fi coverage and test it first before you go ahead and buy the devices. And then likewise, I hope that the video has been informative, just showing you how we do things, a couple of tips and tricks of when we're installing, like tying the loops in the cables when we pull them through to make sure you don't have them fall back. And also using the pass-through RJ45 connectors. They come in a lot of handy, especially when you're up a ladder and you're trying to do terminations on sort of cameras maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 meters up. Just makes the job nice and quick, nice and clean, get the terminations done, and you know you can check it just before you put the final crimp on. It really makes a difference to your job that you just think, oh, I'm not going to go back and double check that because I've checked it and checked it again before I've put the camera up. So you know that you're always going to be ahead of the game. So if I can ask from you though to like and subscribe to the channel, that makes a big difference. It makes me be able to help you more. The more likes and the more subscribes that we get, the more traffic we get through our business, and the more people that can see our videos, the more it encourages us just to keep doing more and more and more videos. If you need any particular help that we haven't yet covered in one of the videos, please drop a comment below and I'll make sure that we make a video on it for you ASAP. Thanks again.